Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Hold on.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Okay, there we go.
Hello, everybody. My name's Dexter.
Way to ruin the name reveal.
We're never going to get around to a name reveal.
This is Dexter.
My name's Dexter, and today we are going to talk all about me. The camera's there. We are going to talk all about me.
How I got here.
This video is about me.
Everything is about me. I am everything. I am all. I am God.
So today we thought we would do a video about how this little guy made his entrance into the world. We're sorry we didn't record an actual vlog because we tried to and the camera died and I forgot to put it on charge because I was in labour and trying to concentrate on getting a baby out of me. So we ended up not recording, but I will put the one clip that we did record in this video. So let's get on to everything.
Let's get cracking and smacking.
Okay, so I ended up going 12 days overdue and we had literally tried everything you can possibly think of to try and get me to go into labour, like all the old midwives' tales, everything, but
And did any of it work?
nothing
Nope.
works. Nothing. I
Spicy.
can tell you that from experience that it's all bull. So yes, I went 12 days overdue. We had a midwife appointment on the 2nd of May, which was Opie's birthday, and we were kind of hoping that we were going into labour that day. I'd been getting cramps and stuff for about a week at that point, I think, and back pains and things like that were like coming and going. So the midwife came and she actually felt my belly through one of these pains that I was having, and she was like, yeah, you're having contractions, hopefully you'll go into labour tonight, and what are you doing? And I'll see you later on and we'll have a baby. But no, it just didn't happen, did it? What was
Somebody
it?
had different plans.
About 4 days later?
4 days later
4 days
was the
later.
start of it.
Yeah. At 10 PM, I was getting ready for bed and I had some blood.
Yep.
And I thought, oh great, I'm going to go into labour soon then. So I went to bed, tried to get some sleep. I probably slept for like 1 or 2 hours, woke up, went to the toilet, had more blood, and was a little bit concerned, so we ended up ringing the maternity unit and they asked me to go in and get checked over. So I went to hospital at about 3 AM that morning, where they basically monitored me, checked my blood loss, and then basically sent me home because everything was okay. It was just basically the start of my labour, and they weren't concerned about the amount of blood I'd lost, and everything was fine. So I got home at like 5 AM, tried to get back to sleep, but it just didn't happen.
Hey, what's going on, guys? So it's now the 7th of May. And
20 past 5 in the morning.
20 past 5 in the morning, and this one has finally hit labour. How do you feel? Apart from the snacking on Pringles.
Hungry.
It's making me want to go to the shop and buy some now.
I've already been at the hospital. The
So
one place I did not want to go.
So explain what happened. Oh shit,
So-
we need to free up some memory.
Oh shit, I'll have to do that in a sec.
Yeah. Quick
So,
briefing.
I've been getting cramps for like ages now, haven't I? Like days, weeks.
Yeah.
So like 8 PM, I started getting like cramps. Didn't think anything of it, because I've been getting them like for weeks now. So like 10 p.m. I'm like getting ready to go to bed, and went for a wee and had some blood. So I went to bed, had like an hour's sleep, woke up because I needed to go for a wee, and there was quite a lot of blood. So, oh, hang on, having a contraction, and I really need to time these. They're not bad enough yet because I can eat through them and talk through them. So I couldn't get back to sleep, and it got to like, what was it, like 2:30 or something?
Yeah, about 2:30ish, something like that.
And I'd got like really concerned because I had to put a pad on because I had like blood in my underwear. So when I went for a wee, I was like going for a wee like every 5 minutes. I couldn't get back to sleep after midnight, and there was like loads of blood on the pad, and I was like, it's a bit weird because I don't think you're supposed to bleed that much. So I rang up the midwife, well, the maternity unit. That's it. Can't even think. It's taken me ages to talk. I rang up the maternity unit and explained what was happening, and she told me that I needed to go to the unit to get checked because a midwife couldn't come out to me. So I went up. Had to be there on my own, of course, because coronavirus has ruined everything. And basically was monitored for a bit. They checked out the blood, which they said it is heavy, but they do think it's a show because I had about like 5 contractions while I was on the monitor. But luckily, baby's quite happy and coping with them well, and basically they're not.
Seconds.
Yeah, they're not like concerned. So now I'm home and it's 5:25 a.m. and we will update you in a bit because the camera's about to die. My mum came round that day, and I basically just like laboured throughout that whole day. She went home. We tried to get some sleep that night, but didn't get any sleep at all, did we?
None
because
whatsoever.
Every time I had a contraction,
it
woke me up.
Yeah.
And like my contractions were really quite close together.
Mm-hmm.
And they were really strong, so we thought we would have a baby soon, but quite clearly that was
Still
not
not
what
on
was
the
going to
cards.
happen. So then on the 8th of May, 7th. So then on the 8th of May, my mum came back round. I think I ended up ringing her in the middle of the night and like basically begging her to come round and like be with us because I just didn't know what to do with myself at this point. Because I was still in labour and I was like, what on earth? Like,
What do I do?
so she came back, we had the midwife come round, and we were told to do like as much as we possibly can to try and get things moving along. So we went for a walk, we did side steps up and down the stairs, I potted around the flat quite a bit, didn't I?
Yeah.
Sat on the birth ball, was doing like hip circles and things like that. And
guess how much of that worked? None.
Yeah, nothing seemed to work. So then the midwife came back that night. I think I was about 5 centimetres dilated.
Yeah, I remember because you were 5 centimetres at 5 o'clock, and that's when she came back round.
Yeah, I was 5 centimeters dilated, and I was like, "Is that all?" Like, I've literally like not made any progress, basically. So she sent me up to the hospital to have some Oromorph because they wanted me to try and get some sleep. So I went to the hospital, had the Oromorph, came home, tried to sleep through that night. My mum actually stayed that night and stayed in bed with me, and you slept on the sofa.
I slept on the sofa. I slept like a baby. I slept 8 hours that night.
Yeah, Ben got a really good night's sleep while me and my mum were up like every 3 to 5 minutes with contractions. So the Oromorph didn't work. It didn't even take the edge off. My contractions were like the same. They probably should have given me a higher dosage or something. But it is what it is, I guess. Like, and then on the 9th, we basically laboured through that entire day as well. We filled up the birth pool, so I was in and out of the birth pool, walking around the flat, again crabbing up the stairs and going for walks, and then we watched The Greatest Showman. We ordered pizza and chips, but I didn't eat any of it because I just didn't have an appetite. I think for the whole like 3 days, 4 days, whatever it was that I was in labour, I just didn't actually eat.
I even made your favourite jacket potato and you didn't touch it.
My mum was like trying to force feed me chips in the pool and stuff, but yeah, just wasn't happening. So anyway, I think it was around 6 o'clock that evening I was checked, and I was 7 centimetres, and that's when we found out that Dexter's head was not in a great position.
Nope.
So he basically had instead of having his head like forward, like straight on, he had his head turned to the side like that.
Yeah.
And so I had to do this thing where I went upside down on the sofa.
Which I'm going to give you a demonstration of how it has to be done. So basically...
Not that you can really see because of where the camera is. You can't really see.
Basically...
So basically I had to do something like that on the sofa and stay there through 2 contractions. And the purpose was to get his head to move out of my cervix so that he could turn it and then go back into my cervix. But at this point, this is when my waters broke. I had the first contraction and my waters literally just went over the entire sofa.
That's hard enough to do when you're not in labour.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus Christ.
Exactly. Try doing it when you're having contractions.
I'd rather not.
Yeah, so I had to do that, and my waters went, and that was about 6 p.m. that evening, and I was 7 centimetres dilated. So then just carried on labouring throughout the night. The midwife switched shifts at 1 a.m. So at this point I'd already seen 3 different midwives, was it? Karen, Katrina, and then Emma.
Yeah.
So when Emma was here, I was basically in and out of the pool. That was the point where I decided I've had enough. Like, I literally had laboured without any pain relief for the whole time, and I was like fed up. I was getting tired, and I just kind of wanted to be out of pain now. So I was like, maybe I'll try something then, and I tried a little bit of gas and air at 1 a.m. in the morning. So that went on till about 3 a.m. when I was checked again, and I was still 7 centimetres. So Emma made the decision to transfer me to hospital because things just didn't seem to be progressing, and baby's head was still in the same position. So that was kind of a bit of a worry. So they got an ambulance out to me, which came like literally the second she put the phone down. The ambulance was here. So then I had bloods taken in the ambulance and a cannula. Ambulance ride was interesting when you've got like back-to-back contractions at this point, and I'm like trying to breathe on the gas and air, and then the ambulance driver's trying to make us laugh. And
if you ever been in an ambulance, you know how low the suspension is, so
yeah,
you can feel
was really
everything.
bumpy. Like, I've never been in an ambulance before, but it was really bumpy. I couldn't even I had to have like one leg hanging off the side of the bed because I just couldn't put my leg up. I was in so much pain that I just couldn't put my leg up. So yeah, I just had to sit how I was comfortable, basically, and that's how I was comfortable. So then when we got to hospital, they put me on a drip of Pitocin to induce me, and I was put on a drip of antibiotics because they had picked up from my bloods that I had an infection. But at this point they were like, we don't know what the infection is, but your white blood cell count is really high, like over 200 and something.
Oh,
I think
it was
they
some,
said.
some
It was like
ridiculous.
It was like really high. But at this point I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, I didn't really know what was going on because I was so exhausted. So because they induced me, I was basically saying, oh, I would really like some pain relief now because this has just been going on for far too long. And I've heard, like, when you get induced that the pain gets worse, and I was like, you need to give me pain relief because I can't do this anymore. So I wanted to have the epidural, which originally they told me that I couldn't have it because of this infection that I developed. And I was asking what it was, and they just were like, oh, we don't know. So they gave me pethidine, which she had to put in my arm because I couldn't get my trousers off. And that made me really drowsy. I was just like basically like drifting in and out of sleep. And then eventually they came round and said, oh, you can have the epidural now. So
get it in me.
So yeah, they gave me the epidural. I had loads of doctors come in the room and do a ultrasound scan to find out where baby's head was, and it was still in the same position. So they basically were like, right, we'll give you till 11 o'clock, then we'll come and check you out and see if you've progressed. So did I sleep then?
Yeah, you slept
in
for
and out of sleep?
Probably slept for about an hour in between that time.
Oh, right, fair enough. Because I can't really remember, I can't really remember much. So they checked me at 11 a.m. and I'd only dilated by 1 centimetre. And then that was the point where they were like, right, we need to give you a C-section. So then I was just like, my whole body was shaken because C-section was like my worst fear, and I really didn't want that's like not how I wanted things to go. Obviously it was like my very, very last resort, but it was obviously needed and there was nothing we could have done about it. But yeah, so we went for the C-section and he was born at 12:52 p.m, wasn't he?
12:52 p.m. on the 10th
12:52
of May.
On the 10th of May, and he weighed 10 pounds. And he is just perfect, aren't you? You are perfect.
And now you weigh a stone.
Yes. So what happened then? Oh yeah, like while they were stitching me back up, I just remember feeling so ill, like I felt like really flat, and all I wanted to do was like sit up, but I couldn't feel like my entire body.
That's because you lost a litre of blood.
Yeah, it's like the weirdest. I lost over a litre of blood.
You were that drowsy and not knowing what was going on. You actually tried to pull down the sheet that they had put over you so you couldn't see the C-section.
Which I don't remember that.
You literally had your hand on it. Ali had to put her hand on your arm and stop you.
Oh, bless.
Yeah.
So like, I just remember looking at the anaesthetist and going, is it normal to feel like I'm going to pass out? And she just looked at me and nodded, and I was like, what on earth?
So yeah, this is normal.
So anyway, what are you saying? You're talking to everyone. So yeah, then they wheeled me back to the room, and he latched for the first time ever and breastfed. and you were allowed to stay with me for that first night.
I was allowed to
weren't
stay
you?
for 24 hours.
Hey!
Well, I actually stayed for 25-ish.
So Ben stayed until around 1 p.m. the next day, which then he was told to go home.
Which I wasn't told that until half an hour before I had to leave.
Yeah, so
They didn't tell me till 12:30.
yeah, like half an hour before he had to leave, we were told that he had to leave, which was really annoying, and it was all because of like the coronavirus and blah 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 blah. Which, don't get me wrong, I understand why they've put these rules in place, but it's ridiculous when Ben had been there literally that whole time and they could have just tested us both or something. We were basically just staying in the same room. It's not like we were roaming around the hospital or anything.
Because they didn't want to feed me. That's what it was. They didn't want to feed me.
But so Ben went home, and at that point I was like feeling so ill because I had this infection and I was anemic because I'd lost so much blood, and I was just left on my own in this room with my baby and my C-section and like no help basically.
I'm gonna put him in this chair.
Dad, what is the problem? Are you bored?
Hey!
You are cheeky.
Let me put him in this chair.
So yeah, after Ben went home that evening, Dexter was taken to the special care baby unit, and this was around midnight the following day after he was born. So
The only thing is, I was asleep at this point.
Yeah,
I didn't realise my phone was on silent. So
I was,
Sash
like,
tried
trying to
ringing
ring-
me, and I was flat out. I didn't even know my phone was going off
yeah,
until the next morning when my dad was knocking on the door saying, "Answer your phone, ring Sasha."
yeah, because I was trying to get hold of Ben because basically Dexter got taken to the special care unit because they suspected that he had meningitis, so they put him on antibiotics, they took bloods, and then the following morning he had a lumbar puncture, which thankfully all of his like test results came back normal and there was nothing to be concerned about. But when you're in hospital on your own and you've got no support and you already suffer with anxiety, this was like the worst. Like, I felt like, God, we've been through so much already, like,
No, we just had to
like,
go for a
why?
bit more, didn't we?
Yeah, like, why? I don't understand. But we got through it anyway. He was put on antibiotics. I think they were the same antibiotics as me, and to be honest, they should have put him on antibiotics
From the beginning.
from when he was born, because they'd put me on antibiotics for this infection, and they should have tested his blood and done all of that to make sure that the infection hadn't passed on to him, because obviously it had passed on to him. But yeah, so I was kind of annoyed, and I am in the middle of writing a complaint to the hospital about all of this and more, because the hospital stay was just not good at all. So we were there for 6 days on our own. We weren't allowed visitors because of coronavirus. So things were pretty shitty, especially for a first time mum that's had a C-section. It was a lot. The other things I am complaining about are the fact that the room wasn't cleaned once while I was there. The bins weren't changed, so at one point the bin was like overflowing with dirty sanitary towels because no one would come in and change the bin. And I thought to myself, why should I have to ask for the bin to be changed? And I wanted to see how long it was going to take them to come in and change the bins, but they never got changed. So the bin was like overflowing, literally to the point where there were dirty sanitary pads on the floor, because I was like, well, I ain't gonna ask for my bin to be changed when this is a hospital and they should be doing that daily anyway. So yeah, I was kind of annoyed about that. And then there was one point where I was nearly overdosed with ibuprofen, and I had no breastfeeding support because after they took him to the special care unit, they basically just stuck him on formula and gave him a dummy and did all this stuff that I didn't want them to do, and like I literally had no breastfeeding support at all. Like it got to a point where he was allowed to be with me during the day and then had to be in special care overnight. So I'd have him in the day and I would try to breastfeed him, and I was like literally begging for breastfeeding support, and he just would not latch in hospital at all. So we had to struggle with that really, and then I basically had to self-discharge because they weren't going to let me go home. They finally told me the day that I discharged myself that they thought I had sepsis and that I needed more blood tests before I left, which they never came and did the blood tests. They cut my antibiotics short, so they were meant to send me home with antibiotics and they didn't. But I just, at this point, it didn't even cross my mind, because I remember the midwife saying to me, oh, you've had a 7-day course of antibiotics, blah blah blah, but I'd only been there 6 days, and the oral antibiotics I'd only probably had for like 2 or 3 of these days. So they also neglected my cannula at one point, and I'll probably insert a photo, but I will forewarn you that it's quite gross, so if you don't like,
blur or pixelate it if we can.
Yeah. Oh, okay, I won't insert a picture then, because it's quite gross. Basically, my arm had like rejected my cannula at one point, and they were like pumping my antibiotics in, and it was all leaking down my arm with blood, and no one came and changed the dressing, even though they were changing the cannula and stuff. They were putting like a new drip, new like fluids and antibiotics and God knows what else they were giving me. They were changing that, but they weren't changing the dressing, and it was all like covered in blood and gross, and it was all like leaking down my arm and stuff. So they stopped my IV antibiotics early because of that and took my cannula out. And then put me on oral antibiotics, which I didn't have a 7-day course of, obviously. I was meant to have a 7-day course of oral antibiotics on top of, but I didn't have that. They cut it short when I went home. So there was that, and what else? They never told me how to do the like Clexane injections, so I probably did all those wrong from when I got home as well. But
probably where you got
they
the
were
infection.
they were like, no, it wasn't. I had the infection before I was even had him. So I was like, they were doing the injection wrong though. One midwife would put it in one spot, and then another midwife would come and put it in another spot in the next day.
Where the hell are they?
Like you do it different sides each day, but they weren't doing it 5 centimeters from my belly button like it says in the instructions. It also says not to take ibuprofen if you have it, but they were.
So why were they giving it to you?
Yeah, they were giving me ibuprofen. But yeah, anyway, there was just a lot of things that went on that I am going to complain about, because I still, Dexter is 2 months old now, and I still have the infection that I had before, so I'm now back on antibiotics, and I'm having to have a scan to make sure that I don't have an abscess like in my uterus because of my C-section, and yeah, I've just got all that going on now. So yeah, we're sorry we haven't picked up the camera in a while, but obviously we got home and wanted to spend some quality time with Dexter and just as a little family, and that's what we've done, and it's been really nice. But we're hoping to pick up the camera a little bit more, hopefully, and record some stuff, because we think it'd be nice for him to watch back when he's older as well, and it's just nice for us to have the memories and for family to watch that don't live near us and stuff like that. So yeah, anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling now because I feel like I've talked your ear off and it's quite a long video. So I think I've covered everything to do with the labour. Do you?
I think that's pretty much everything, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.
Bye-bye.
Bye from Dexter too. Say bye, Dexy.
Bye-bye.
What about Opie? Opie's flopped in his
Bye-bye.